Hello and welcome, I'm Raziel, and so today I'm going to talk about one of my favouriteest legions of all the times, the Thousand Sons. I really do like these guys. I don't know, maybe it's an affinity with them. I've said about their characteristics before, with they kind of want to do the right thing, but just ends up ballsing it up completely. They are in almost a clownish manner. You had Magnus trying to warn the Emperor of Horus's betrayal, smashing the webway portal and that tunnel that the Emperor was working on to get rid of warp travel. And of course you had Ahriman trying to stop the flesh change and ending up turning most of the Legion into dust. And of course you had Magnus once again saying, "Hey, Horus, this dude's Erebus. It's not Sejanus. You shouldn't listen to him." But Horus listening to Erebus anyway. So when they try to do something good, it blows up in their face. I quite like that. I think that's really interesting and a fun plot point to look at even more. And if you read the Magnus Primarch book, which is actually quite good, you also learn that he is absolutely despises Tzeentch. Like, he doesn't want anything to do with chaos anymore. He wants to get out of that, and he's trying to find ways of removing himself from that treacherous, devious, malicious god. And it's kind of cool, to be honest with you. I do like it. And, now in the 41st millennium, just Thousand Sons are not actually real space marines anymore. They're just like dust in their armor. And even, like, when they tried to recruit new marines, they use the gene seed and straight away it turns to dust. Like there's nothing they can do. And then there's this funny and final part that their fall to chaos wasn't even a choice at all. I just love the irony in that. That they had no choice into turning to chaos. Everything he had done had sort of led to this point. His pride, his hubris, even though it was always trying to do the right thing, but it eventually led to fall to chaos, and he had no choice at the end. But I do question whether or not it was Tzeentch actually manipulating him when he was speaking to the Emperor about the new Legion, or whether Vulcan's actually, and Vulcan's telling the truth, saying, actually, Magnus, you were a blubbering wreck, and the Emperor wanted nothing to do with you. A kind of interesting one there. But let's talk about the Thousand Sons, and this sort of goes back to what I've said before about the GW and the Black Library have issues finishing stuff off. They kind of bring up an interesting plot point, and it's like, well, we've got this plot point going, what are we going to do with it? Nothing at all. We're not going to do anything with this plot point. But it's really good, it was really interesting, it can really flesh out the lore. Yeah, but we want to sell models, and we can't sell models if we make books too interesting. We have to give the people what they want, just shameless bolters and firepower and action. But what about more nuance and in depth? What about things that change, growth? No, just shooting. Anyway, I dragged that joke on too long, and let's continue. And the point I want to talk about today is, of course, Yvraine, and her bringing back some Thousand Sons back to life. Well, this happened during the Gathering Storm. Again, it's kind of interesting if badly written, where Ultramarine Primarch returns with the help of Yvraine, bringing him back to life. Well, and out of stasis. Stasis. And yeah, kind of, it's interesting. Just as the Chaos Space Marines of the Black Legion decide to defend, just attack McCrag. That's some sort of serendipitous event there. And yeah, so we have this Yvraine who, worships Yenneid, and this took a long time coming as well, because Yenneid was mentioned way back when in the 3rd edition Craft World Eldar supplement. And yeah, so this is what happened. She brings back, he gets his suit, and adventures happen. They jumped on their battle barge, and Gulliman went, "Adventure ho!" And everyone went, "That sounds ridiculous," and they went off. And they eventually got attacked by the Thousand Sons, and Yvraine's magical power brought them back to life. They were no longer dust, they were actually Marines inside their armour. And that was kind of cool. I thought that was really cool, because I was like, what can they do with this? The Thousand Sons weren't really traitors, because they weren't traitors by choice. Like, they were kind of forced into this subset because of their actions. Like I said before, it wasn't really a choice for them. It wasn't like Mortarion, he had turned against the Emperor beforehand. Magnus was always trying to be the neutral party, trying to make both sides sort of back down, but ultimately he was siding with the Emperor almost spiritually most of it until the very end. So, yeah, and suddenly you've got these Thousand Sons coming back to life. We could suddenly see, loyalist Thousand Sons fully fleshed out, their flesh change gone, and realizing that their true potential within the Imperium, and how cool that would be. They could be still Traitores excommunicatus, still the traitors to the Imperium, but fight for the Imperium. This is not unheard of in the 41st millennium, and I always like this idea. I do like these idea of Space Marine chapters who have been, they're traitors because they've done something that the Inquisition didn't like or the Lords of Terror didn't like. So they've been told, yeah, you're not with the Imperium anymore. But they don't fight alongside Chaos. They fight for the Imperium. They will always help them. Like the Knights of the Valiant Knights. The ones in the traitors in the Devastation of Balbook, I forget their name. They weren't traitors. But because of their such brutal actions in warfare, how they would literally murder people just to eat them, kind of got them that way. But they were still loyal, even though they were technically traitors. And it's an interesting aspect to bring up. And then when you bring up a legion which has been demonized, absolutely hated by the Imperium, suddenly fighting alongside the good guys in their old crimson armor, would bring up a lot of conversation and interesting concepts within the lore, such as who would fight alongside them? Would the Blood Angels fight alongside them? That would be interesting to see, because I would think the Blood Angels would, because they tend to be the more compassionate. Or the Salamanders. Salamanders would be better. I'll get back to Blood Angels later. The Salamanders would be better because they're fighting for the Imperium, and they would probably be a lot of tension there. But the end goal being for the betterment of the Imperium, the Salamanders would be fighting alongside them, even though they'd be very much at arm's length, and because they are the most compassionate Space Marines, and they always think of the Imperium first. Then you've got the Blood Angels, who again, very much a very, very loyal chapter. And they again would probably fight alongside them for the same reasons. Still, arm's length with minor negotiations. Basically, it would be like an envoy between the two saying, yeah, we're doing this. Can you be over that side of the planet and do that bit? And so none in between would ever meet. But they would still have the end goal of saving the planet. And, just aiding the Imperium as a whole. Then you'd have chapters who would be absolutely against them, being mostly psychers. It would be interesting to see these loyalist Thousand Sons end up trying to tell the Black Templars, look, we're on your side, and Black Templars go, no, you are traitors to the Imperium, you're the most hated of the hated, you're not quite Black Legion, but we absolutely despise you, and leading to civil war between the two, but both wanting the best for the Imperium. And I could see the Thousand Sons doing their best not to fight, like they did on Prospero. It wasn't, on Prospero, what was the most interesting aspect of this, in my opinion, was how Magnus wasn't up for a fight. He was like, he wanted to face his consequences. He wanted to do what was right, but of course, it led to warfare. Again, another example of it blowing up in her face. I would like to see the sort of same thing happening with these new loyalist Thousand Sons who got cured by yvraine. And that would be really interesting to see against the Black Templars. And finally, this is the most interesting part, I think, in my opinion, is the whole thing with yvraine. Araman should be hunting her. I mean, absolutely going mad for her. He knows she exists, but he should be just going laser focused in her direction. Absolutely, 100%. His whole aim, that Alf, right there, that Aldari, we need her. We need to capture her. And using all his resources and everything he can do, and he has quite a bit, and he is quite a clever guy. He's one of the few Thousand Sons that can actually sort of blend into other chapters as well, and other legions. He will work as a mercenary, and he would have used his resources just laser focused at her, and to see the conversation between those two would be absolutely fantastic. How he's saying, you can save my legion, you can save my brothers, can you help me? And your friend could be like, well, I can smell the warp on you, I can sense it, and what am I going to get out of this? Are you going to help me, or are you going to kill me? And what plan would he have? Would his plan be with her blood or have her alive? We know the magic needs to be used while she's alive, but what could happen with this? It's just such an interesting concept. The fact that it took, what, 3rd edition to 8th edition, oh, late 7th, 8th edition, 5 editions before they even fleshed out the whole yvraine thing and you need. And I'm not even joking, like it wasn't even mentioned for most of the codexes up to that point since 3rd edition. And this just to me would be fantastic. It would be nice sort of, because it does look like Games Workshop want to start going down this route of repentance, I should say, and forgiveness. We saw it kind of with Motarian and kind of with the End of the Death. I'm not going to spoil it, but if you read it, you know. So it'd be interesting to see. Really would. And of course, if Magnus gets turned back to his normal self, what would be the conversation between Gulliman and him? Or what about the Lion? I can see the Lion just smacking him with no questions asked. You betrayed my father. I'm going to smash the shit out of you. Yeah, anyway, thank you very much for watching. What are your thoughts? I'd like to hear your thoughts. Always do. I like reading your comments down below. And yeah, thank you very much. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you. Links to Raylan Games down below. And what else is there? That's up to 20% off and free delivery after £20. Then there is Forbidden Planet, which is comics, DVDs, manga. As much as it sounds dodgy, it's named after the film, which is well worth a watch if you like Leslie Nielsen. And there is my comics, t-shirts, merchandise, all that stuff down there is below. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.